outstanding researchers, especially on the topic of the climate change. So first speaker is Dr. Piman. Dr. Piman from Thailand. And Thailand. He has engaged in the management of Transboudary river, especially on the topic of adaptation of the climate change. So I think he will share his good experience with us. And the other speaker is Professor Takikawa-san from Japan. And Takikawa-sensei teach at Kyoto University. I know the Kyoto is quite the same with Thailand. Thailand, we all know Thailand is our city in Taiwan, and Kyoto is also our city in Japan. And the second point, I know Kyoto had a good experience, good at engineering field. And right now we are located on the Mekong University. Mekong University is an outstanding engineering university. And even though I cannot attend Mekong University, but it's good for me to hear, to introduce to outstanding speaker to hear. So I think I say a lot of, so I should pass the mic to the first speaker, Dr. Piman. Let's give him a big hand to Dr. Piman.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ni hao. I tried to learn Chinese, Taiwanese language last night. So, yes, first of all, I would like to thank you, organizer and sponsor, Water Resource Agency, Shinotech Engineering Service, and also very warm welcome from Nankung University last night. So this is also my pleasure to share our experience and also the knowledge on the climate change issue. And yes, my first task today is try to take you out of Taiwan. Because when we talk about the climate change, it's not only the national agenda. The climate change is a global agenda. So that's why you can't close your eye and just adapt only in your country, because climate is connected around the world. So that's why the best practice now is we need to share and we need to connect the experience on adaptation and try to make very efficiency way to manage the climate change and water resource. So today my topic of presentation is about the adaptation to climate change and development in the Transboudary River Basin. I have very long experience in the Mekong River Basin. I'm not sure how many people know about Mekong. Oh, can you raise the hands? Okay, not bad. So first thing that I would like to say is I don't want to separate climate change and development each other. Because if you want to adapt, you need to think about the development together. So that's why it should be go along together when you adapt for the climate change or development. So this is a key important. Even you have very good strategy of the adaptation to the climate change, but if you don't bridge to the development context, it's also difficult to implement in the practice. So that's why these two issues need to be go along together and try to see the synergy and the trade-off between those issues. So my outline for the presentation will cover 4 topics. First is try to take you to the Mekong Basin in very short time without flying. So second is try to summarize the key challenge on the climate change and the development in the Mekong Basin. Give you the importance of transboundary adaptations and provide you the key messages of these presentations. Here is the Mekong Basin. So, okay, here. So the Mekong Basin is an international river basin. The river flows from China here to Myanmar, somewhere over there here, and then Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and flow out to the sea in the Vietnam Delta. It's big. What I can say is big. The area of the river is about 800,000 square kilometers. I think it's how many times of Taiwan. And if you look at the river length from upstream to downstream is about 4,000 kilometers. So the longest of Taiwan river I listened from the NDCI is 400. So this is 10 times river compared to the Taiwan. So that's why the first challenge that we have is scale. You know, we have very big scale of the basin and also different political and topography issue inside the basin. So this is another view of the basin. When we look at the longitude of the river, you can see here in the upstream, it's very steep in the China, and the basin is narrow. While when the river flow to Laos and Thailand, it's become flat and flatter. So this is also make a unique shape of the Mekong River basin. So here is a length and also the catchment area. We call this is a upper Mekong and this is a lower Mekong. I work in the lower Mekong basins. So this is a flow for each part. And I also show you the contributions of the area in each country and also the flow contribution for each country. So if you see in this figure, most of the flow from to the Mekong is from Laos, almost 40%, because that area is a mountainous area. I think it's like the middle of Taiwan that you have very high rainfalls. Yeah, and then here Thailand is quite dry. Yeah, because this is a highland plateau. So when the monsoon comes, it's blocked by the mountain, and then the land is raised when come to inside the region. And this is Cambodia and Vietnam. So when we look in terms of water, when we look in terms of hydrology, here Chiang Saen Station, here, and this is a Krache in Cambodia. You can see the hydrograph, particularly between wet and dry season. It's very high seasonal variations. This is because of the monsoon system influence our climate and influence our flow. So that's why you have a lot of water in the wet season and very less water in the dry season. So that's why in terms of water resource engineer, it's already challenge how you manage this variation. Another important issue in Mekong is ecosystem. In our basin, we have very big ecosystem animal, like a giant catfish here. It's bigger than meter, you know. And also this is kind of the freshwater stingray, you know. There are a lot of like abundance of ecosystem in the basin. So that's why we can't only look into the development and economic. We have to also thinking about the environmental protection and how to serve them for future. Come to the social aspect. In the Mekong Basin, we have 66, about now I think almost 70 million people live in the basin, and 70% of the people is the rural people, highly depend on the water. You know, they use water in normal practice. Most of them are agriculture, farmer, or fishermen. So that's why you can see here their life is very simple. Most of them. So that's why if the water resource is changing, hydrological is changing, it will further impact to their livelihood. This is a floating house in Cambodia, in the Tonle Sap. If somebody have been there, it's very interesting livelihood. They live in the water all the year. And they're floating around the lake, you know, to go. I will show you more about system in next slide. So then come to the driving force on water resource development and management in the Mekong Basin. So we have facing with the population growth, urbanization, economic growth, food and energy security, and also the climate change. The country, the Mekong, particularly Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam, is start developing very fast. So that's why it's affect to the water demands and also how you manage the river. Because you imagine if one country decide to build a big infrastructure, it may potentially affect to other countries. So our job is try to how to make the best practice to manage the water together. So that's why our job is about the Transboudary cooperation. So here, this is kind of the key element of the development. Everything needs water. So I just give you the example of the key sector development in the Mekong now, particularly hydropower here. I think at the end of this year, we will start the ASEAN community. So that's why we will bridge all the development in ASEAN countries. Here, Southeast Asia. You can see this is kind of potential hydropower, like electricity grid line across the ASEAN country, and particularly Laos, because of the topography is mountainous. So that's why they try to push a lot of hydropower dams, as you can see here. And also particularly in the upper part of the Mekong Basin in China, now there are a number of big dams already built. One dam called, I think, Xiaowan Dam is already complete in 2014. 13, 14. The height of the dam is quite similar to 101 building. Very high. Very high, maybe second highest of the dams in the world. So it's big. And another one, biggest storage is somewhere here, also very big. So that's why this is a big concern of the Mekong country. You know, one side we need to develop, another side we also need to maintain people, environmental, and how you gonna do that with different countries. So this is maybe also challenge for the Taiwan people, because I don't think you have much experience on outside country, because it's close as an island. But it's good to know. I think it's a lot of things to learn on this basin. Second sector that is driving the Mekong is also irrigation or agriculture development. The most irrigation development in the past is developed in Thailand, the northeast of Thailand, and also the Vietnam Delta. So as you know now, Vietnam is the, I think, #1 export rice in the world. So the most of the rice from Vietnam is come from this area. They can grow rice 3 times per year. Very intensive, Why Thailand in this area is not really like good condition to do rice farming, because it's very flat, not many storage, and also the soil is also it's like salty soil. When you have more water, the salt is come up, So that's why we have a lot of challenge. But however, in Laos and Cambodia, they start develop also the irrigation scheme. As you can see here, a number of small, large, and medium projects. Then come to fishery. This is also a big amount of sector, particularly in Cambodia and Vietnam. So the Mekong is one of the most diverse and abundant fishery in the world. They have more than 1,200 species in the basin. So that's why it's a lot to manage. And in terms of capture fish, it's estimated 1.5 million tons per year. So that's why this is kind of the fishermen, in the river. And this is kind of fish gear that they use to catch the fish, So it's very interesting. So that is about the development context that I would like to give to you about what we are moving forward in the basin. And also now we have also the challenge of the climate change. As you can see, the hydrograph in the Mekong is very high variability, and the climate change is also make it more uncertain in the river. So that's why this is a big issue in the Mekong, how we can adapt, how we can manage this kind of uncertainty and variability. So for sure, in terms of climate change, before you go for planning, you need to look at the past. So that's why we try to look at the historical analysis of the climate. We found that in terms of temperature, out of the area across the lower parts of the Mekong Basin, the temperature is increasing. Most of the stations show the increasing, as you can see, but the magnitude of change is different across the basin. As you see the color, this is maybe change more than this area. Similar, we also look at the changing in rainfall across the basin, where it's an increase of the rainfall, where it's a decrease of the rainfall. So this is just to build the knowledge, because the climate change program in the Mekong, it just started in last 5 years ago. So we call the climate change initiative, because of the member country, like they not really know yet what is the climate change. Is it climate change? A lot of questions. So that's why this way, what they want to have is the knowledge, the common understanding, what happened and what is going on, before they put forward for the planning and adaptation strategy. So that's why this is a starting point of the climate change analysis. So we also look at the typhoon, storm, try to look at how many typhoons go to our regions, and try to analyze it. Is it still normal situation, or is it changing you know, like in terms of magnitude, in terms of directions. So the yellow show you the storm during 1951 to 1980, yellow line, and the red line is 1981 to 2013. So from the past, then we have to look into the future. When you do the planning, you need a future, right? How much people will increase, what kind of climate condition you're gonna deal with. So that's why this is, I think, the interesting part of the researcher, how to do the climate change projection in the future. So the traditional approach, it starts from the IPCC emission scenario. So IPCC try to estimate the future carbon emission to the growth. So from that carbon emissions, then they put the information to the global circulation model like that. So the global circulation like that will simulate the climate parameter to respond to the carbon emission from IPCC, and then they will give you the future condition of the climate. This is kind of the approach. But the output of the global climate model is quite large, like 100 to 200 square kilometer resolutions. It's crude to present at the global scale. But when you would like to look at Taiwan, it's kind of good because the information is too large, you know. So that's why you need to do what they call the downscaling. From the global, then you have to make it finer, make it smaller to see the variation in your country. So that's why it's come to the downscaling approach to get the finer resolution in the basin. And from that, then you can use the information for the impact assessment, hydrological impact assessment, agriculture impact assessment, hydropower impact assessment. So this is kind of the common approach for the climate change assessment. So currently, we already try to look at the future for the Mekong. This is what we call the medium climate change scenario for recently IPCC emission scenario, RCP, representative concentration pathway 4.5. And we can look in terms of temperature, in terms of the annual rainfall for different GCMs, for different time horizons, 2030, 2060, and 2090. One thing that I would like to make it here is when you use the GCM, you need to be very careful. You know, you can't actually use only one GCM. And you can't also use all GCM because it's too much. So you need to do some analysis to pick up, to select the GCM. Because what we gain the experience so far, our of GCM have the same direction in terms of projection temperature. Every GCM show increasing of temperature. It's fine, but different magnitude, maybe 1 degree, 2 degree, we can manage it. But when we look at the future or the projection of the rainfalls, headache. 1 GCM tell us you will have more rainfalls. 1 GCM tell us you will have less rainfalls. 1 GCM tell us you will have great rainfall in the dry season, you will have more rainfall in the wet season. Then what should we do, right? It's uncertain. This is still big uncertain in the modeling approach. But however, we know every decision making, every time for decision, they have to deal with uncertainty. They cannot wait until everything is perfect. So that's why we try to provide a range of uncertainty to the operator, to the country. In example, we can say that in 2030, the rainfall will change from the average plus and minus 15 to 20%. For the operator, they said good enough. Then we will try to find a way how to deal with this kind of ranks in the future. So that is some starting point that you can start connect with the operator, like dam operator, irrigation dam operator, something like that. And here, show you also maybe very interesting for the Taiwan is about the sea level rise. In IPCC report, it's mentioned that the global average sea level rise is about 1.7 millimeter per year. But in our monitoring observation analysis, we found that in like Vietnam Delta here, the sea level rise is more than the IPCC mentioned. It's vary from 2.8 to 3.4 millimeter per year. So that's why in this region they are very concerned on the sea level rise impact, particularly in Vietnam, because people living here is more than 30 million people, and they are discussed a lot how to adapt to this kind of impact. You know, there are a number of measures like it's good to build a dike along the sea, like hard engineer solution, or we should use the soft engineer solution like mangrove or whatever. You know, there are a lot of discussion on this impact. So actually, we already give the idea to the member country on what the impact of the sea level rise. In example, this study is done since 2010 or 11 on look at the impact of the sea level rise on the flood and salinity intrusions. So that's why here, if if sea level rise increase 17 centimeter in next 30 years, this area will be flooded, and salinity intrusion will come into the land more compared to the baseline, something like that. Currently, we try to update the new information and try to simulate again this kind of impact to the member country. We also look the existing and potential impact on flow, like here. This is kind of the red line is original hydrograph, and we project or predict in the future when all the development happen, like hydropower irrigations. The wet season flow will decrease because the dam will store the water in the wet season and then release the water in the dry season. So that's why this is kind of the potential impact. And you can see this is about the climate change, where is the impact in each country. So this is also important for engineering when you try to look the extreme event or extreme value to design your structure. When like maybe spillway or whatever, you may use a 100-year return period or maybe 1,000-year return period. You get this amount of people to design your system. But in the future, in the climate change, you may have another line of the extreme, you know? How to come back? Okay, here. So from maybe 15,000 to 25,000 change, you know? So this is just awareness, but in fact we need more analysis. But this is something that the engineer have to be taken into concern now, you know, to protect your infrastructure in the future. Like you have to put more safety factor in your design in the future because of uncertainty in the climate and extreme. And this also show you the impact of the climate change on the hydropower production with different scenarios. So in terms of vulnerable to climate change, you can see that in our region, in Mekong Basin, Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam is very vulnerable to the climate change. First, because of the livelihood or the living style is still depend on the climate and the river. So come to the planning. How we do the adaptation planning? How do we do the transition adaptation planning? Before that, I would like to say in the part we call the traditional planning. We will do sector by sector, one sector planning, one country planning, limited institution involved, decision making at one sector or one country only, specific issue addressed, specific interest solved, sectoral allocation of funds, In the past it's fine because the demand is very limited. We have a lot of water, so you can use whatever. But now, when the demand is grow up and the supply still remain the same, then the competition of the water is more. So you can't use this approach in the future because of they will bring conflict and instability. So that's why this kind of situation will happen more and more when you put more development, population growth, economic development. So that's why the integrated approach is important, how to work together. So the key importance of transboundary adaptation, so that's why is to maximize mutual benefit across the basin rather than one country. We have put the basin perspective to the country. So in each country you can't think only yourself. You need to think for the whole basin as a big picture, and then try to prevent or reduce possible negative impact of adaptation measure on the other country to enable joint development or more cost-effective solution to promote sustainable natural resource management. So this is a key importance of transboundary adaptations. So here is kind of the common elements, Right now, most of the country will move to the sustainable development like UN goal, millennium goal. They push to the sustainable development, and in terms of water resource management, integrated water resource management or IWI approach are dropped to apply in terms of management, and climate change is a part already in this kind of approach. It's nothing new. We just need to find a slot to integrate them in our current planning approach. So this is a key important. If you need to address the transboundary adaptation, what kind of the element that you need to build up? First is about table or platform, like this picture. You need to take all the key players on the same table, otherwise you can't manage. So that's why in the Mekong we have commissions. That 4 countries or 6 countries can come and work together. If you have no room, then it doesn't move. Second, you need a recipe. If you want to cook something, you need what kind of ingredient. So, in terms of planning, you need a process. You need a process. We need a harmonized planning cycle. What is step of the planning? Because in each country you may have different steps. In each sector you may have different steps. So how to harmonize? So this is a second component that you need to build. The third one is tools. So in terms of tools, there are 2 categories we call the technical tools, like modeling, like GIS, spatial analysis, so on, etc. And also legal tools. This is about the agreement procedure between the country. So you need 2 things together to make a plan. So this is kind of show you the model in the basins that we have kind of a rainfall runoff model to look at the inflow. We have the IQQM model to look at the water balance. And here we have ICS model to look at flood and salinity inclusion in the delta. So this kind of technical tool that we have developed so far. And then ingredients. If you need to cook something, you need an ingredient, good ingredient. So ingredient in this meaning is mean data and information. So that's why you need a number of data. You have to build a database. So far now, my work is to build the downscale climate change database for the member country, like here. We already have the database on the future climate change projection for each country and also for the basin. So that's why this is starting point that you can now using this information to plan. This is a sea level rise database and system. You can click and you can have the projection value. You can select the GCM and scenario so far. And the last one is not last one, the skill. Like today, the capacity building is very important. We do a lot of capacity building at the local level, government level, and regional level. So this is also important. If you have everything but no skill, you cannot use the information or data. So that's why I think this is forum also a part of the capacity building skill. And at the end is also important is participation, cooperation, and coordination. So every, I think, year we have a meeting between the member country and high level to cooperate and provide a commitment for water resource management in the Mekong River Basin. So this is our ongoing project related to the climate change. We are building knowledge and tools on the climate change analysis and modeling, as I already give you some example. We also now assessing the impact of the climate change related to water related resource and sector, developing a database and monitoring and reporting system for the climate change and adaptations, capacity building, and finally we aim to formulate regional adaptation strategy and action plan. So this is maybe the end of the programs. So this is show you just the kind of the how the tools and knowledge look like. In the future, we will publish the information through the website and how the user can access and use the information. We also have what we call the demonstration project in each country to attach the existing impact and to also learn how the local people adapt now, because they know already climate is changing, they already adapt. We are still thinking, but they already adapt. So that's why we have a demonstration projects, for each country, for them to mainstream the climate change issue in the planning process, and also to exchange experience among the 4 countries, how they adapt in the local. Also, we have high-level involvement in the planning, like exchange between the Mekong and Rai River Basin. This is let's say the deputy of Minister of Water Resource for each country. We bring them to the Rai and exchange how the river basin adapt to the climate change. So the last part of my presentation, first about the key message. To do the effective adaptation to the climate change, you require a good coordinator, integration, and coherence across the political, sectoral, ecological, and institutional boundaries. Decision maker need to involve in the beginning, not just at the end inform. He need to understand what's going on the climate change, because it's not easy to just 5 minutes and give answer to him. We need to find a step by step to involve them in the beginning to ensure the process is connected to the policy making. Due to the uncertainty of the climate change and complexity of the impact of water cycle in different sectors, decision makers need to ensure the sustainable development and adaptation measures are robust across the wide range of the climate. The thing is now, the adaptation measure, you can't only use the historical climate. to make alternative, you have to look in the future how your dam can deal with the future climate too. Then you can ensure that your adaptation measure is robust. Sharing data is important to provide a big picture. And the most important thing is the wider stakeholder engagement and regularly exchange of the information. I think like today you have regularly meeting. This is very good platform already to share and to learn and to strengthen the synergy and linkage between adaptation actions. So, 谢谢. Thank you very much.